Hey everyone, welcome back. Ever wonder how, like, a random piece of metal turns into something super precise? Like, think gears or even those tiny parts they use in surgery.
Yeah.
That's where a metalworking lathe operator comes in. Today, we're going to really break down what this skilled trade is all about.
It's pretty amazing actually when we think about it. It's not just running a machine, there's a real art to it.
Right, and our listener today is really curious about what it really takes to be successful in this kind of role. So let's get into it, starting with our trusty career guide, Metalworking Lathe Operator. Now, this guide explains how these operators use lathes to, like, shape metal, but I imagine it's not as easy as it sounds.
Oh, not at all, not even close. So picture this, okay? You have this hunk of metal spinning really fast and your tools are carving away at it, but it's got to be incredibly precise. We're talking about using these things called gear trains, basically like specialized gearboxes inside the lathe, and they control the speed and movement of the cutting tools. And it's all about understanding how different metals react, how much pressure to use, how to get those like super tiny measurements just right.
So I'm hearing attention to detail is key. This guide keeps mentioning a high degree of skill. What does that actually mean when you're doing this job? What makes someone, like, a great operator, not just good?
Okay, so a good operator, they can get the job done, they can make the cut, literally, but a great one. They're thinking 10 steps ahead. They know how the metal might change, with heat, how it might warp, and they adjust what they're doing because of it.
Wow, so it's like,
It's problem solving, like live in the moment. Every single job is a new puzzle.
that's fascinating. So you need that technical knowledge, but then also this almost intuitive sense of how the material will behave.
You got it. And honestly, that often takes years of experience. There's a reason why so many people in this line of work, they start with apprenticeships.
Oh, that makes sense.
You're learning from people who've seen it all, made all the mistakes, and figured it out.
So speaking of seeing it all, let's talk about what the work environment's actually like. The guide paints a picture of factories, machine shops. Pretty clear it's not your typical office job.
Definitely not.
So what's it really like to be on a shop floor all day?
Well, it's definitely hands-on, that's for sure. You're up on your feet. There's the sound of the machines all around you. You can smell the metal. It's a whole experience.
And it's got to have its challenges, right? The guide mentions it's physically demanding, you're standing for long periods, the motions are repetitive, and of course you're working with dangerous machinery.
That's the reality of it, yeah. But anyone who's good at this job will tell you, safety comes first, always. That's just how it is. But, for someone who really enjoys working with their hands, who likes to see the results of their work, it's really rewarding.
Yeah, I can see that. So maybe this is a good path for someone who's thinking about a career change. Maybe they've been stuck in a desk job and they're looking for something a bit more, well, tangible.
You got it. It's all about finding what you're actually interested in, what kind of work fits your personality. I mean, think about it. Would you rather be staring at a screen all day or be surrounded by the energy of a shop floor, building something with your own two hands? Only you can answer that.
Okay, so we've established this isn't your typical office job, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But what about the future of this career path? This guide, it mentions something about industry trends. Let's dig into that a bit.
Yeah, good idea.
It says the fields, like, projected to grow around 6% over the next 10 years. That sounds pretty good, right, in terms of job security?
Yeah, 6% is definitely a positive trend, no doubt about that. But there's something else that's going to shape this whole industry going forward. I mean, it's impacting almost everything these days. Automation.
Oh, right, yeah. The robots are coming. Should metalworking lathe operators be worried?
I wouldn't say worried exactly. It's more like adapting. See, robots,
Yeah.
they're great at doing the same thing over and over,
Right.
but they can't really think on their feet. They don't have that human touch, that ability to adjust when something's off or solve a problem that's never come up before.
So the operators who can work with the robots, those are the ones who'll really thrive.
Exactly. That's the future, that blend of old school craftsmanship and high-tech tools.
So wait, does that mean a metalworking lathe operator? They might need to become, like, a programmer too.
Pretty much. CNC programming, it's called.
CNC.
Computer numerical control. Basically, knowing how to program these machines, how to fix them when something goes wrong, that's where the real demand's going to be.
That's really interesting. So it's not even just those hands-on skills anymore. It's about staying ahead of the tech too.
Exactly, and that goes back to what we were talking about before, lifelong learning. You're never really done learning in this field. There's always new materials, new ways of doing things, new software. It's all part of it.
Okay, so someone who likes a challenge, who's always like tinkering and figuring things out, they'd probably do well in this kind of job, even with all the changes coming.
100%. Now, how about we get into like the practical stuff, the pros and cons, what the guide lists out?
Yeah, let's do it.
So on the plus side, you've got good pay, high demand for people with the right skills,
Can't beat that.
and you get to work on a lot of different kinds of projects, so it's not the same thing every day.
It does sound pretty great, yeah.
Okay.
But like with anything, I'm sure there are downsides too.
Oh, for sure.
The guide mentions it's physically demanding, you might be exposed to fumes, loud noises, that kind of thing. And some tasks can be, well, kind of repetitive, right? How do people who've been doing this for a while, how do they handle those parts of the job?
Well, first of all, safety is non-negotiable, right? Like proper ventilation in the shop, wearing the right gear, having workstations that are actually designed for your body, all that's crucial.
Yeah, makes sense.
And about the repetition, it really depends on the person. Some folks, they find it boring, but others, they get into a groove with it, almost like a meditation.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It's all about how you frame it, I guess. Finding that
Ooh,
balance
yeah.
between the tough parts and what you enjoy.
Exactly. And let's not forget, there are those rewards you don't always see listed out. That feeling of pride when you actually make something with your hands, something that takes real skill. When you see a finished part and you're the one who made it happen, that's special, man.
I can see that, yeah. So let's say you've been a metalworking lathe operator for a while. What's next? Like, is there room to move up to build a career out of this?
Oh, absolutely. There are definitely ways to progress, which this guide does a good job of outlining. So you might start as an apprentice, like we talked about, learning on the job. But as you get more experience under your belt, you could become a junior operator, then a senior operator. You get more responsibility, more complex projects.
Oh, cool. And there's even that specialization we saw, the mechanical one.
You remembered. Yeah, that's where you really get into the nitty-gritty of the machines, the tools, everything. You become like the expert in a particular area, which makes you super valuable. Think about it. You could be the go-to person for a certain type of part or a specific metalworking technique that most people don't even know. That's real mastery.
It sounds like a career path where you can keep pushing yourself, keep learning new stuff, which is pretty cool.
It definitely is. That's something a lot of people are looking for these days.
So say someone listening to this, they're like, all right, this actually sounds pretty interesting. I might want to check this out. What advice would you give them, if they're just starting to explore this whole thing?
I'd say the guide's right.
Yeah.
Hands-on experience is key. This isn't something you can learn just from reading a book. Apprenticeships are great, like we said.
Right. You got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
But what about if someone, like, they can't jump into a full apprenticeship right away? Maybe they've got other stuff going on. Are there other ways to get that kind of experience?
For sure. Even just doing your own projects at home, that can teach you a ton, like build a toolbox or fix up an old bike. I knew a guy who made these awesome little metal sculptures in his garage just for fun.
That's so cool.
It's all about showing that you're interested, you're willing to learn, you can figure things out on your own. And you know what? This guide actually mentions something that ties right into that.
Oh, yeah. What is it? Oh, what is it?
So it talks about getting ready for job interviews, right? And it's got this whole section on questions they might ask you. One that really stuck out to me was, what projects have you worked on, just for fun, that show you're into metalworking?
Interesting.
They want to see you're passionate about it, that it's more than just a job for you.
That makes sense, yeah. It's not just about having the right stuff on your resume. It's about, like, having a story to tell,
Yeah.
something that shows you're really dedicated.
Exactly. And that actually reminds me that the guide also mentions this tool, RoleCatcher. I think it could be super helpful for anyone looking into this kind of work.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
They've got this thing that analyzes your resume, helps you make it perfect for the jobs you want.
Oh, that's cool. Like, tailored to the specific job description.
Yeah, exactly. Like having your own career coach.
That's awesome. Especially these days, it's so competitive.
Tell me about it. And you know what else the guide mentioned? Another interview question. How do you make sure your work is accurate?
Ah, good one.
They want someone meticulous, detail-oriented, who takes pride in their work.
So it's not just knowing how to, like, read a tape measure. It's about understanding those tolerances, and being really committed to precision.
100%. It's your chance to show that you get it, that you understand how important those tiny details are in this line of work.
Okay, well, I'm definitely getting a sense of how much goes into being a metalworking lathe operator. It's more than meets the eye. So as we wrap up here, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's listening? Maybe they're feeling inspired and they want to see where this path leads.
Don't overthink it. Just start getting your hands dirty, Find an apprenticeship, take a workshop, or just mess around with some projects at home. The more you actually do it, the more you'll know if it's right for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Just follow that curiosity and see where it takes you. And hey, you might end up with a really cool career that lets you build awesome stuff, work with incredible technology, and use your creativity every day.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's all the time we have for today, folks. A huge thank you to our expert for sharing all their insights with us. It's been enlightening. And to our listeners, if this deep dive has you fired up, make sure you check out the show notes. We've got links to everything we talked about today, including that tool, RoleCatcher. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep those questions coming.